Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today on how Trimble Realworks can help you to streamline your X7 data workflow. Just a couple little housekeeping items here. We are going to keep everyone muted till the end. We'll open it up for questions. If you have some questions or comments during the presentation, you can use the chat for that. A couple of our team members will be monitoring it. We will be recording this session and we'll send you out a link afterward to everybody that was that signed in as attendee. And then we'll also be uploading this to our knowledge base. There's the link for you there, buildingpointsoutheast.com/knowledge-base. You can also access that if you go to our buildingpointsoutheast.com. The top of the screen, you'll see knowledge base. You can click on it there and you can use the search feature to search for our webinar. Just real quickly about who Building Point Southeast is. We're one of a select number of dealers for Trimble on the building construction side. We sell robotic total stations as well as 3D scanners, crew site technology, as well as a mixed reality and Spot the Dog. So a little bit about who I am for those of you that haven't met me before. My name is Eric Fines. I work for Building Point Southeast. I started out with our sister company, Duncan Parnell, back in about 2015 as a support trainer for Autodesk products. My background is in that AEC industry as a CAD designer, drafter, and BIM modeler. I was also a BIM manager for about 7 years of that. I taught myself Revit, got myself interested in teaching after teaching the office and a few of our clients. And that's when I came over to Duncan Parnell as that support trainer for Autodesk products. We then got out of that business and they moved me over to Building Point, who was in need of a trainer. So now I'm a Trimble certified trainer where I can train robotic total stations, 3D scanning, some of our crew site technology, as well as the FieldLink software, FieldPoint software for AutoCAD and Revit, and also Realworks. I do a little personal note on the personal side. I do enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy fishing, my dogs, spending time with them, listening, playing music, and I love college football. So our agenda here today, I'm going to quickly walk through some of the benefits of having Realworks in addition to FieldLink with your X7 scanner. I'm going to talk a little bit about the registration tools, about the cleanup and classification tools, as well as the measure tools. We're going to talk about the speed of exports and using the publisher to push out your point cloud to your client. And then we'll look at some live examples within Realworks itself. We'll do a summary, and with any time left, we'll open it up for questions. So let's get into it. I'm going to dig a little deeper into some of these elements of benefits, but I just want to quickly walk through what are some of the benefits of using Realworks in addition to your X7 scanner and FieldLink. Number one is the ease of importing your scan data into Realworks. In FieldLink, we can get out that TDX export, which will go straight into Realworks or other Trimble platforms. But you can also export out that TZF, which gives you that raw scan data in a registered form. The TDX is really simple to bring in, just a few clicks, you can have it into your Realworks project. You can also import straight in the raw data off the SD card. That will be unregistered, but we can do all that registration within Realworks. You can also import data from other scanners. So if you got an existing project you're working on and you use another scanner, or you get some scan data from a client and you want to bring that into Realworks, you can do that pretty easily just using the generic forms of point clouds, the E57s, LAS, and LEZs. And then you can, if you've got an existing project you want to add data to, you can use that one button import and register tool, which is just a wizard that will take you step by step through each process of it. It'll allow you to import the data, and allow you to select that data you want to import. It'll allow you to register it, sample it, and put visualization to it and process it right there, all within a few clicks, and it'll do all the work for you. Makes it really simple and nice. You have the ability to register your X7 data, re-register your X7 data if needed. There's some registration tools there. We'll walk through each of those here in a moment. But if you need to re-register anything, you can do that really easily within Realworks. And then you can easily work with multiple scan projects. On the front side of that, you can have multiple projects open in Realworks and swap between them when needed under just one instance of Realworks being open. You can combine multiple TDX projects, and maybe you've gone out in separate days and done separate scans with your X7 scanner and FieldLink and saved them as different projects. Then you could export out each of those projects as TDXs and bring those into one project in Realworks and work with that data there right on your computer. And then you can create and work with groups very similar to you can do with the X7 and FieldLink as well. You can do more extensive point cloud cleanup within Realworks, and there's some really powerful measure tools there as well. You can use the segmentation tool to clean up interior and exterior of your point cloud, which you cannot do in FieldLink. And then you can use some extraction tools to actually extract certain bits and pieces from your point cloud within Realworks also. I'll show you what that looks like here in a few minutes. You can do much faster exports, including recap. And I put that there, including recap, because we all know if you're using X7 scanner and FieldLink, that coming out of FieldLink, the recap project is the slowest export. So when you bring that over from that tablet into Realworks, now you're working on a much faster computer with more resources. That will speed up that process of export, especially to your recap projects. And then you can use the publisher to send out your point cloud to clients, and that will open up what we call Scan Explorer. And under Scan Explorer, that'll allow you to look at each individual point cloud, use the measure tools, things like that. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. So let's dig a little bit deeper into some of these benefits. Number one is the registration tools. With the registration tools, you basically have 4 types of registration within Realworks. The number one way is our auto register using planes. This is the same plane-based registration that's happening in FieldLink. It does dive a little deeper just because you're using resources on your computer versus the resources on that tablet, which are much less. The tablet will do a pre-registration, and you have to do a refinement separate, whereas in Realworks, when it does the plane-based registration, it will do an automatic refinement in that as well. You'll get the same report there out of it, also letting you know how well your point cloud registered. There is also cloud-based registration, which will take you on a deeper level as far as that manual registration between a point cloud that won't fit, that doesn't just want to quite fit in place. Like in FieldLink, we can do that manual registration, use that dial to move it and rotate it, orient it around and get it correct position, or even using that split screen where you can pick 2 points on an element or pick 2 planes. We can go a much deeper level of that in Realworks. Realworks will still allow you to move and manipulate that point cloud orientation as far as rotation or moving it in position to register it, but it'll also allow you to segment out or clean up just a little small bit segment out of your point cloud. So maybe it's a door or a window or a piece of equipment that has some good overlap between your reference cloud and your moving cloud, and then you can pick multiple points on that. So maybe it's a window, I can pick all 4 corners, or maybe it's a piece of equipment where I can pick several points off of 2 different sides of that piece of equipment, helping that registration to pull in tight. There's a refine button there that'll refine that registration between those either 2 point clouds, or maybe it's a group of point clouds with one moving in position. It'll allow you to refine all of that right there within the cloud-based registration tool. And then some customers may want to scan with targets as a backup, or maybe you just want to do it the old school way of scanning with targets to make sure that registration you feel like may be tighter, but that's not using that plane-based registration. You can run that target-based registration right in Realworks. And you can do it 2 different ways. You can do the auto extract targets, where the software will go in and automatically extract those targets for you and register according to all those targets. Or you can use the target-based registration, which will allow you manually to go in and extract each target and then match them up for your registration. And then one other thing we can do also in that registration tab set is we can geo-reference our point cloud. So if you put up those targets and you shot them in with robotic total station, or maybe even with the scanner, you can bring those coordinates over into Realworks, extract those targets, and give those targets specific coordinates. Now that's going to take those coordinates and reorient your project according to that georeference control. We can use the point cloud cleanup tools to do some extensive cleanup of our point cloud. I mentioned earlier we can do exterior and interior cleanup. We'll use that limit box mode to do the interior cleanup. That's much like the section view back in FieldLink, allowing you to pull those extents and look inside your point cloud. And I'll show you live what that looks like, but we can clean up elements within our point cloud which can help on file size on the back side of that. And so what that would look like if you got debris in the area you were scanning, maybe there's pallets of supplies, maybe there's people walking around, you want to get those elements out and clean up your point cloud as much as possible. This will allow us to do that, getting on the inside of your point cloud. You can also segment out bits and pieces of your point cloud, and what that can help you do is now we can extract certain areas or certain piece of equipment or whatever and push out just those elements out into your 3D model, keeping your 3D model working efficiently. As we all know, those get really large, and now you're adding a large amount of scan data to your project. It can really be cumbersome on your project. So pulling out bits and pieces and allowing those elements to be your model components can be really beneficial within your 3D model workflow. And then we can use the N button, the N key, to zoom in and look at certain elements of our point cloud. In this case, the front side of this chiller, you can hold down wherever you've got your mouse pointing at, you can hold down that N key, and that will zoom into that area, and it'll clip it out. And then it'll allow you to rotate that around in 3D to look at it. You can use the measure tools there. You can even clean up around that area using the N key as well. I'll show you what that looks like live. Really nice feature, allowing you to look at those really good details of your point cloud. Our other cleanup tool is the classification tools. What this does is this will automatically extract features and out of your point cloud. So we've got two different types. You've got an auto classify outdoor and an auto classify indoor. And so the outdoor will extract that ground surface, vegetation, the walls of the building, and features like that, maybe power lines, power poles. And then the interior will do walls, floors, and ceilings, and even graded floors if you have any in your point cloud. Excuse me. And so what this gives you, if you take a look at this example, this is one of the conference rooms at Trimble Dimensions that was scanned. And then we took this and we extracted, using the extraction tools, we extracted the floors, walls, and ceilings. Now these are individual clouds. And so what this gives you ability to do now, if you want to run a floor analysis on that floor surface, or if you want to run maybe the wall verticality analysis within Realworks, you could do that off the walls and not have to worry about using the full point cloud. You can just use these bits and pieces. These can also be, excuse me, these can also be exported out as well. So if you need to export any of your data as far as your floors, walls, or ceilings, those will be individual clouds, can be exported out to your 3D model or other point clouds softwares. You can use the measure tool. There's a lot of different measure tools within Realworks. We've got 3 or 4 within FieldLink, but this will allow you to go in a little bit deeper level in those measurements. We can do the point-to-point measurement, which is things we can in FieldLink, as well as that horizontal clearance and the vertical clearances. But there's some other features in there allowing us to measure the pipe diameter, which will give us a temporary model component showing us the fitting of that measurement. Maybe we've georeferenced and we want to look at an XYZ coordinate of a portion of our point cloud. Maybe it's a corner of the building or a piece of equipment that's within georeference within our point cloud, or whatever the case is there. We can get that XYZ or NEZ coordinate of that specific point. What we can also do is export out 2 different ways. On the registration tab set, we can export out a structured point cloud, which will give us the ability to export out with our scan stations, much like we can in FieldLink. But what this does, it actually allows us to go in and resample or revisualize their points. So if I don't want to export out 100% of the points, I can decimate that data down a little bit and still get my scan stations. The other export option we have is a non-structured export. This means that we're exporting from the production tab set. So those clouds that we've cleaned up, those individual elements that we've extracted, we can export those out as one point cloud. We can do that as a E57, LAS, LAZ, even a recap, or even that TDX format, which will go into other Trimble products. We can also share our point cloud using the Publisher tool. You'll see on the left-hand side a little slider bar. This will allow us to increase or decrease the amount of data that's being pushed out to our client. And what the client will actually see is Trimble Scan Explorer. Scan Explorer is a visual tool that the client can use to look at each individual scan station. And by default, they can take measurements within that scan station, or you can use the checkbox there to enable extraction, and the customer will allow them to actually extract data if they own Realworks as well. So let's look now at some of these features within Realworks. So the first feature we want to look at is going to be our measure tools. This is the same point cloud that you've seen an example of in my PowerPoint slides already. It's just a chiller plant. And so the first thing I want to do is just get myself into a station-based view, and then I'll pull up my measure tools. So our first measure tool we'll look at is going to be this point-to-point measurement. And just so you know, you can access the measure tools in multiple places, either on the production side or the registration side, or in the quick access menu as well. So this first point-to-point measure tool will just focus in on this base plate here. So you're just going to click point to point. So once you click in 2 points, in the upper right hand corner, it's going to show you the length, and it's going to give you that delta X and Y. So if you looked at it from a top down view, you'll see that delta X and Y, kind of that triangulation, if you will. The next one we'll look at is this fixed vertical measurement. So basically you'll pick 2 points and you can start at the bottom. We'll take a look at this column right over here, this little small column, and we'll just click down at the base. And the second point will just come straight up, maybe somewhere around this pipe, and that will give us a fixed vertical measurement just between those 2 points. Our next 2 measure features will show you the vertical clearance, either upward or downward. So we'll start with this first one, which I'll click a point on the floor surface here, and then that will go straight up and show us what's a measurement between the floor surface where I clicked and what's straight up above it. And then the next one will be downward. So I'll just use this structural beam here. I'll click a point on the bottom of it, and it should go straight down to the floor surface, showing us that clearance there between those 2 elements. And then I can do the locked horizontal measurement, just same as similar to what we can do in FieldLink. So I'll use this wall and just pick a plane on this wall. This will create a plane here. And then I can click the opposite side of the wall here. Let's see, I think that might be the wall there. And that's going to create a fixed measurement between that horizontal X and Y, giving us that clearance there. And then the other nice feature here, as far as your measure tools go, is going to be your cylinder measurement or your diameter measurement. And so I'm just going to click right on this pipe here. And you can see that gives me a fitting there. The nice feature here is now I can hold down that end button, that end key, and that's going to zoom into that area, give me an ability to rotate around and see that fitting. So that's that temporary model fitting. And the nice part here for Realworks is it's going to give me the diameter for that, as well as the standard deviation or the fitting for that model component around that piece of point cloud. The other nice feature of the end key there is I can increase and decrease the area I'm looking at. So just while I'm holding it down, I can hit the plus sign, the plus button, or the minus key, and that will increase and decrease the area I'm looking at. So if I want to look at a little bit more of that point cloud in that area, I can do that. And then again, that's wherever I hold my mouse. So if I wanted to look at a component that's a little bit further away in my point cloud, I can do so by just holding my mouse there, hold down the end key, and then I can increase and decrease the area I'm looking at. And then we can increase and decrease that area just looking at that that workbench down at the other end of the scan set there. Now we'll look at the cleanup tools. So I'll get out of my measure tools here and we'll go back to examiner mode, which puts me in 3D. And I'm just going to go ahead and go to a top-down view to start my cleanup process. So cleanup tool is really easy. So right out of the gate, when you go to your production tab, you're going to have this project cloud. These other clouds that are sitting here are ones that I created for this webinar, and I'll go through each of those here in just a moment. But our cleanup tool is going to be the segmentation tool. So I'm just going to click on my project cloud, click the segmentation tool, and I'm going to get a little menu here pop up. And so my first thing it's going to ask for is my type of selection. So I'm going to do a rectangular selection around our point cloud here, just clean up all that residual data hanging outside my point cloud. And so my next thing that the software is going to want to know is, do I want to keep everything inside or outside that selection area? In this case, I want to keep everything inside, so I'm going to hit that green check box. So my next step in this, I'm just going to clean up a little bit more of this data here. So I'm going to click that rectangular tool selection available, and I'm just going to select this residual data out here. And this time I'm going to keep everything outside that selection box. So this would be the red X in this case. And typically in this workflow, I would go to a side view. So on a side view, just look and see if there's any point data hanging outside and do some more cleanup if I needed to. Got a little bit hanging out down here. I could probably clean that up. But for our webinar here today, we'll leave it. But if I needed to, I can continue this cleanup and get it down to just exactly what I need to work with. We can also start our interior cleanup process here as well, or we can go ahead and create this cloud. But let's go ahead and show you that interior cleanup. So to do this, I'm going to use the limit box here, and I'm going to click to set that limit box. And you can see it's just like the section view in FieldLink if you're running an X7 scanner. And this will allow you to look at those elements inside your point cloud and get it down and look inside and get down to just exactly the elements you want to clean up. Now I've got a little bucket here. I'm going to clean out of my point cloud. I want to get this out. Anything interior in your point cloud, any of these points that you're leaving here, that can be some data that just adds up, which would increase your file size. So any kind of cleanup you can do can definitely decrease the file size on that export, bringing it into your 3D model or whatever the case. In this case, one thing I want to make sure I do as well is I want to make sure that there's no point cloud data behind my selection here, because it will clean that up as well. So this is the importance of using that limit box to remove those elements that are behind the point cloud in this case, so I don't clean them up. So I've got this bucket selected. I can hit the red X now, just let me know, telling the software, hey, I want to keep everything outside this selection. I'm going to remove this that's here. So I'll click here to remove that element. And that removes that from the point cloud. I did leave a little piece of the wheel. You can do some tedious work and clean that up, but for what we're doing here today, we'll leave that. But now as I pull the extents back off of my, my limit box here and start to visualize the rest of my point cloud, you can clearly see that everything is left except for the removal of that, that bucket. I'll pull this one out as well so you can see the wall behind it is still there. So we still got our points there. Everything is still behind what I removed. So now I'm just going to turn off my limit box mode, and you can continue that process and keep cleaning up elements inside your point cloud. But here I'm just going to go ahead and create this. You're going to see it's going to create an object over here in my workspace. There it is, object 182. Let me know that it created a new cloud for me, and what is showing on my screen is all the points that I've removed from my point cloud. One of the nice elements too about Realworks is your project cloud will always maintain 100% of your points, so you're never actually deleting data. It always remains within the point cloud. Now, once I've created my object cloud, I can click on it and then click on it again and rename this. And usually, since it's my first cleanup on my cloud here, I will usually call this a working cloud. A nice part here is I can Control-C to clip it to my clipboard and then Control-V to make a copy. So now I can always refer back to this cleaned up cloud instead of going back to my full 100% of my points point cloud. So now I can work with with data from this copy. And I can make more copies of this or create more clouds as I need to. If I continue my cleanup process, or maybe I want to pull an element out, which I've already done already. I pulled out this chiller. You saw this in some of my pictures in my slides. You can see this chiller. I can rotate it around and I can export just this one cloud out to as a recap or another point cloud format so that I can get it into other software. The other element we can do, again, we can use that N key to look at details. And rotate around our, if we're looking at details within that cloud, or I can use full point cloud to do that. Again, that N key can be really key to looking at those details. And another element I can do is I can extract different features from my point cloud. Let me turn this chiller off and I'll turn on the floors, ceilings, and wall that I've already extracted from this point cloud for us already, just to save time. But it's a really easy process. On the Edit tab, you're going to see these classification tools, classify indoor and outdoor. So I'm going to click on classify indoor here to show you the simplicity of this. You're just going to check each element you want to extract, and then you click the extract button and the software will do this for you. The nice part about this is it uses a color-coded classification to help you identify certain elements within this. So you can see my floor here is in a dark brown. The building walls itself is in more of a tan color, and then I've got green for my ceiling. So if I wanted to use this to run a floor analysis, then I could turn off my my floors, my walls, my walls and my ceiling, and just look at my point cloud of just the floor surface. And now I can run a floor analysis on this. I can take measurements off of it. I could send this out to be used in my model. Whatever the case is, I've got this individual point cloud pretty easily extracted for me. So in summary on this, get back over to my slides here really quickly. So in summary, Trimble Realworks can take your X7 data to the next level, from 4 ways to register, to your cleanup tools, to your measure tools, and publishing to your client. Realworks definitely has many benefits that can enhance your workflow. For more details on this, please contact one of our sales associates, and thanks for attending.